Welcome back to Fireside Knicks with your boys, Alex and Ryan. Talk about this depth, the rounding out of the rotations here for the Knicks and bringing back Precious Achiuwa on a 1-year, $6 million deal, filling in the power forward depth there and the center depth. I still don't think the Knicks are genuinely inclined to not go and get another center. I think they will end up getting somebody, but Achiuwa gives them the depth now to wait for the right opportunity to come across their desk. They don't have to be aggressive. They can wait until the deadline if they want to next season and find a really solid center. If they want to go get Clint Capella, that's a guy they're interested in. They don't have to get him right now. They can wait until the deadline, get him for much cheaper and much less money. So I do think that ultimately the Knicks have done the right thing in terms of rounding out certain positions. But, going out and getting Mikal Bridges, extending OG Anunoby, and naturally pushes Josh Hart and Donte DiVincenzo into rotation roles and depth roles. And that's where you want to be if you're the Knicks, man. If you have any injuries, you have starting level players stepping into the starting five. And if everyone stays healthy, if you're playing the Boston Celtics and they're bringing in Al Horford or Sam Hauser or this guy or that guy, they're good depth pieces. But they're not bringing in Josh Hart. So they're not bringing in Donte DiVincenzo. They're not bringing in guys who start on 90% of teams. Guys who just set the Knicks franchise record for three-pointers made, or Josh Hart who played every damn minute of the playoffs this past season, aside from the injury. Ryan, looking at this unit in general, looking at this team in general, how excited are you about the depth that they've built here? The addition of Achiuwa, in my opinion, gives them a lot more time to work with in terms of finding another center to pair with Robinson, who I don't think they can necessarily trust with his health history being a little bit checkered.
Yeah, it's a little bit interesting, right? Like, when we're talking about the center position, like, Precious Achiuwa is not a traditional center. The Knicks are either going to have, the Knicks are getting creative at center. That's the only option they really have here. And as you mentioned, they could get another center, but kind of feels like the closer we get to the start of the season, the less likely that becomes, right? Like, if it doesn't happen next week, it's less likely than it was today, right, for it to happen. And then on top of all of that, looking at the roster right now, like, I think we're hitting the point where so many guys are making money on the team that you're going to have to make sacrifices somewhere. It had to be at center position. They weren't going to be able to break out. And I didn't want a Vucevic. Like, Vucevic to me, he's not a winning basketball player. He doesn't really play defense. He doesn't, he's the kind of guy who needs to get the ball for 15, 18 points. And dude, he's just not a good enough scorer to do that. Not an efficient enough scorer to do that. And then looking at the rest of the roster right now, wing depth is A+, right? The Knicks probably might have the best defensive duo. No, not probably. They do have the best defensive wing duo in the league. I think Jalen Brunson's one of the best guards in the league. You have, in Randall. Randall's one of the best fours in the league. Robinson's one of the best shot blockers in the league. So you're looking at your starting lineup, you're like, this lineup's complete. The bench, it's complete except for that physicality from the big spot. They're going to be a smaller lineup. That is a little bit concerning. I guess maybe, I think I've seen some reports saying they like, Jericho Sims and they think he can develop into something. I don't know if that's leverage talk, we don't want to put it out there that we don't trust Jericho Sims, or if they actually feel that way. I've seen them turn Nerlens Noel into a defensive player of the year dark horse candidate that one year. I've seen Tom Thibodeau work miracles. The guy's like the Jesus Christ of centers. It's crazy. He's a miracle worker, man. Look, this team, they have, again, they're very well built, defensively and offensively. Being a flawed roster does not make you a bad roster. I think that's a very important thing to point out. Being look at the Celtics last year. Their center depth, granted, Al Horford and Kristaps Porzingis I think is a better center tandem than Robinson and Achiuwa, but it is still flawed. Al Horford is still 40-something years old. Al Horford could be my dad, right? He's also Dominican, so the ethnicity thing would make sense there. My point is more so their center position, and they didn't even have Porzingis for most of that one. They had Xavier Tillman running as the backup five, and they won the title, and they didn't just win. They beat the brakes off of everybody they played. So, Alex, I think you and I can agree, flawed. This center room is flawed. It is a flaw of this team. It is a weak point of this team, but it's not going to knock them out of being contenders. It's just what happens with every roster. They're just not perfect, and you can't demand perfection from your roster because it's impossible to do in a cap league.
Of course not. And look, as you can't demand perfection, but the Knicks have gotten pretty much as close as you can get to building out a very competent team that has the upside to be one of the best, if not the best team in the game. You know, like we have elite defense on the wings. You have Julius Randle coming back, obviously one of the better power forwards in the game. The physicality and rebounding are underrated. I'm not even underrated, properly rated aspects of his game. Jalen Brunson has elevated to superstar status. Mitchell Robinson, when available and healthy, is one of the best centers, defensive centers in the game. Dante DiVincenzo, one of the best three-pointers in the game. Josh Hart, one of the best rebounding small forwards and just energizers in the game. Miles McBride, many players on this team have called it the best contract in the game. The Knicks have a lot of best in the game. You know what I mean? Or one of the best in the game. And like that is where you want to be going into regular season. Guys that have a little bit of a healthy health history. You know, obviously Randall played over 70 games for 3 consecutive years before last season with a freak injury. Of course, Miami, once again, doing freaking bad things to us. Brunson played 77 games last year. Mikal Bridges has played no fewer than 72 games in his entire career, which spans 6 seasons. DiVincenzo's been healthy. Josh Hart is obviously very healthy. Like these guys, this team is different. They have flexibility. They have some future first-round picks at their disposal. Again, protected in the lottery, but you know, nonetheless, still valuable to a degree. They can still offload, you know, a valuable piece on the bench for a guy on an expiring contract if they feel that's the necessary piece to swap. This team has positioned themselves in the best way possible across the board, and their depth is phenomenal. The only missing link is the center spot where you could use another starter alongside Robinson, but it's not like end of the world. You know what I mean? It's not life or death. The Knicks can still win a lot of games with the team that they currently have. It's just like, you know, an embarrassment of riches at that point. So, you know, I do feel as though this team is positioned nicely. The future is bright. I don't know. Like, I'm really excited for this upcoming season. I know it's kind of slow right now. Not much going on. Josh Hart said they're kind of being fueled by friendship this new championship window with all the new Villanova pieces. And obviously, it's really exciting to see that this team has, you know, Mikal Bridges is walking in with chemistry. It's not like he has to adjust. He's walking in knowing how Josh Hart plays, how DiVincenzo plays, how Brunson plays. These guys are going to immediately kick it off, and it's going to be really exciting to see.
We saw Anunoby last year. Like, when we saw that, Anunoby legit, like, walks into the room and just cooks. And as you mentioned with Bridges, like, he's also the archetype of player he is, bodes very well for just immediately gluing in, because defense is always valuable, shooting is always valuable, gravity is always valuable, spacing is always valuable. You don't have to know how to run the offense yet to do those things really well. Or you don't have to know the system very well to do those things very well. He's a very high IQ player. You know, again, as you mentioned, I mean, how many Villanova players are in the regular rotation? Dante DiVincenzo, Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, right? Like, it rocks. Like, this team, I think, is really going to do a great job of just immediately kind of meshing. And look, if they get off to a slow start, will it be concerning? I think any slow start is always going to bring some sort of alarm or concern. You want to know why you're struggling. But I foresee this team being able to get off the ground pretty fast and at least get off to a good start. And look, last year they were, like 500 or around 500 in December. They get Anunoby, boom, they take off. You know, I think this team, think of what they were after they got Anunoby, and now they have Bridges. So yes, they lost Hartenstein, but they also didn't have Randall for a lot of that stretch, and they also didn't have Anunoby for a lot of that stretch. So, you know, Alex, this team, I'm feeling it this year. I feel the buzz with this team, man.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited, man. But guys, always happy to hear your thoughts down below in the YouTube comment section. Make sure to like and subscribe as always. I'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Knicks episode.